what's going on? This is Topazzle. I'm here with the Elektron Digitakt, and I'm just going to go over a few things about it and talk about basically what I think about it. I've had it for a few days, maybe not even a week. Has it been a week? No, not even a week yet. So I've only had a few videos posted up of me playing around with some patterns. I haven't learned the whole thing. I haven't dived into the whole thing yet to totally understand the machine yet. So don't hold that against me if you happen to know more than what I'm answering or what I'm explaining here right now in this video. So but I just wanted to go over a few things, like for instance, why I think it's less expensive than a lot of other Elektron gear. Of course, other Elektron gear is capable of doing way more things than this box does. Yeah, so I really look at it as more like a sequencer slash sampler, because the sequencer, there's a lot of tricks that you could do with this sequencer that you can't do with any other machines that are like sequencing. It kind of reminds me a little bit of when like the Beat Step first came out. The Beat Step was like a really cool sequencer. It was a MIDI controller. It didn't have any sounds. It's not a sampler or anything like that. But if you plug it up to your computer through a DAW, or plug it up to a synthesizer or a drum machine through MIDI, it turned into a really cool sequencer. So this kind of reminds me of that a little bit. But of course, this is way capable of doing way more than the Beat Step can, because the Beat Step it's only a MIDI controller. So this is actually that's why I look at it as like a sequencer slash sampler, or any way you want to look at it. It has a pretty awesome sequencer in there. There's a lot of tricks that the sequencer can do, and yeah, it's cool. So another thing too, why I think as I was going on, why I think it's more or less expensive than their other machines is pretty much its size. I mean, if you look at this, it's pretty small, and one of the ways they compact it is usually their Elektron gear is has their one row of 16 buttons, but of course here they have two rows. So the first row is 8, the second row has 8, so you still have your 16 buttons right here. So they just kind of like, instead of it running all the way down, just one row of 16, they save some space and they put the rows on top of each other. Now these boxes, Elektron gear, their boxes are pretty sturdy. I mean, this is some pretty good, hard, sturdy metal. And so metal like this, I don't think comes pretty cheap. So when you downsize a box, you don't need as much metal. So you don't need as much materials, of course. So that's one thing I think makes this this box really uniquely more affordable. It's still a pretty much hefty price tag. It's around $700. And it's a good price for what it can do and all the tricks that it can do. It's a really awesome price. I think it's well worth it. So it's still awesome, even though it's compact. And another cool thing too is that making it compact like this, it actually fits like in a book bag way easier. So if you put this in a book bag, you still have more space in that book bag compared to other Elektron gear, because the boxes are longer. If you put one of those in your book bag, it pretty much takes up most of the space inside your book bag, depending on the size of your book bag. But putting one of these inside of a bag, you still have a lot of room, so it's very compact. So yeah, that's what I think. Another cool thing about this box is that it has new encoders, and these encoders have like a rubbery feel to them, like they're more they're not hard plastic. And a lot of people with their Elektron gear, they would go ahead and do like updates on the encoders and get encoders similar to these. that had a rubber fill. So Elektron, they have a new gear, so they went ahead and added something like that to a new box, so you don't have to update it. Instead of it having plastic, it already comes with the rubberized encoders. And another thing too is that the encoders are now they have this accelerated feature, so the quicker you turn it, the more steps it takes, and then the slower you turn it, then the less steps it's going to take. So if you turn it real quick, it's going to be real quick. But also, these are still push in encoders. So if you're used to that old school Elektron fill, pushing in your encoder so it could accelerate quicker, you still have that feature also. So you don't want to not forget about that. So they actually still have the push button encoders. So that's cool. That's another cool thing. Let's see. Another thing too is when I got my box, I needed to do an update because in your filter section where you have your ADSR edit here, when you first get the box, when I first got the Digitakt, it didn't have the ADSR graphic display on the screen. It just had the normal dials appearance, dial graphics. So after you do the update, you download the update on your computer, and then you plug in the Digitakt to your computer and you do the update, then you'll have the ADSR graphic display. So graphic feature, it's pretty cool. I think it's a cool feature, but I didn't do the update right when I got my box, got the Digitakt, so I was already playing around with it before I did the update. And I don't know, to tell you the truth, I don't know if I was used to the knobs, or having the little dial graphics. I guess I am used to it, but tell you the truth, I would kind of like it better if the graphic, the ADSR graphic display wasn't like this. I actually prefer having the dial. I don't know, it just feels like I'm getting more accomplished when I'm turning the dial, or I know for real, exactly what I'm doing. But the graphics pretty cool. It's a cool feature. I just wish that I have the option of using the graphic ADSR, or having it like as little dials. So maybe later on, Elektron, in future updates, you will give us the liberty of having the graphic ADSR or just the regular dials, because I actually prefer the regular dials as an appearance. But it's cool. I like it. It's attractive. I think it's cool, but I don't know. I like the dials better. So if I had the choice of using the dials or the ADSR graphic, I think that I'd feel more comfortable. So hopefully that can be done later in the future. Okay, so another thing I was going to go over is that a little secret maybe, when you as your pattern is playing, you like if we're in the filter section, as the pattern is playing, if you hold down the track button as you turn one of the knobs to to tweak the sound, like for instance, here's the filter right here. As the pattern is playing and I hold down track and I'm turning the knob, it affects the whole song. So it affects all the tracks. All the tracks are being affected by my knob turning here, as opposed to not holding down the track button. And if I have one of these tracks selected, like for instance track 4 selected, if I turn one of these knobs to affect like the envelope or the filter here, then only that track is being affected. So if I'm holding the track button though, and I make those adjustments, the whole song, all the tracks are being affected. But a little secret here is that as you're turning this knob, like for instance, I'm turning knob encoder E, and as I'm turning it, if I keep turning it, and if I let go of track and I keep turning it, it'll still be affecting all the tracks until I stop moving the knob. So once I let go of that track button, and if I move over to another knob, it's not going to control all the audio tracks as I'm making a tweaking adjustment with that knob. So that's another little secret right there that I picked up, and I thought I'd let you guys know that. So I think that's pretty cool because you don't have to be holding down the track button that whole time as you're affecting that knob. So, but if you're going to move over and start affecting another knob, just make sure that you're going to have to push that track button again, so you could, get all those audio tracks to get that effect from that one knob. So that's pretty cool. Another thing though, that kind of got me confused when I was like transferring samples, like as I would plug in the Digitakt to my computer and I want to transfer samples into the Digitakt. And then it's pretty easy, by the way. It's just really quick. You just drop the samples into the transfer program and then it just loads right up to the Digitakt. But after doing that and you want to find your samples, I kind of got a little confused. The situation with that, in order to find the samples, you're going to go into your settings button, press settings. It's going to take you into this menu. You have your choices of project, samples, MIDI configuration, and system. Of course, you're going to choose samples, press yes, and I don't know, I kind of like got confused. I couldn't find my samples, but there's these little arrows on the side here, and you can actually, move one frame over to the left or to the right, and then you have your arrows here to, make your adjustments. So you could view your plus drive. You're going to press yes, and then it's going to take you to, you have your drives here. The D stands for drive. So you have your factory drive, your incoming drive, your already recorded drive, and then everything that you record, actually everything that you transfer for that one session, it's automatically going to get a number, and you just got to remember, or you can name it, but try to remember what number you have, and then you're going to make that selection. So like right here, if I press my factory drive, you press it and it's just like a computer. So if you choose this very top line right here and you press yes, it's going to take you back. So you always want to remember that. So if I go here to transfer blah 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 numbers, this would be the transfer that I just recently did, or unless you name it, which would make it way easier. And these are like all the last transfer samples that I just did. But I got a little confused at first. I was a little lost. I couldn't find it, and it was like kind of bugging me out, but eventually I found it. So yeah, because I was like, where was I? Yeah, because I was like stuck inside of, where was I? I was stuck inside of the incoming drive, and there was like nothing there, and I was like, what the heck are the samples that I just transferred over? But then I had to remember, go back to the D drive, and then bam, it takes me back to this menu where I could choose my other little drives here. So you have a factory drive, which is all the factory pre-samples that are already loaded into the Digitakt when you get it. Then we have this incoming drive. I don't know what that is. I think that's when you're making your recordings, that's the drive that is like saving your sample when you have audio coming in. So that I think that holds your sample until you chop it up and then you place it into your, I don't know. Anyways, so, and then you have your recorded samples. See, I already I only recorded 2 samples so far. And then you have your transfer samples, and you know, unless you name them, they're all going to say transfer and then have this number here. And I would imagine, like, with each transfer, you know, different times that I transfer stuff, I'll have more of them. But, you know, so far I only have 1, but it has a load of samples that I've already transferred in there. So I was a little lost there. So just make sure to go back to your menus. It's just like a computer when you're inside of Windows or something. You know, you're going to want to go all the way up to the top. So you could go back. See, now I'm back in the factory. And I could go back. And this is view RAM, because you're going to be going into your RAM. That's where all your samples and your recorded stuff are going to be. So I was a little confused with that at first, a little lost, but then you know, making different menu choices, I ended up figuring it out. So that's a little confusing, so try to get familiar with how your samples are stored, so you know exactly you know, where your samples are going to be when you transfer over. And you can also configure your drive, so you can make your own little format of and folders of where you're going to keep things. So that's another thing. So yeah, I'll show you. So samples, here we got factory, and then inside factory we have drum, synths, and a toolbox folder inside the factory. So if I open factory, there's other folders. We have acoustic and electronic, and this is already like, this is how it comes when you you know, this is how the Digitakt comes with all the pre-samples for factory samples. So acoustics, see, there's an ambient kit, a dirty kit, natural kit, punchy kit, all that. And then you can actually load these up. These aren't already like, I don't think these are already loaded up. So if you want to load these up into the Digitakt so you can use them, you have to select them. See, if you go over to the right, you have the option of selecting all, deselecting. So you want to make sure that you, like right here, I'll select them all. So 8 samples are selected and they all have little check marks. And then my next option would be to load to a project. So it will load to the pattern that I have selected. So like if I'm inside of bank B, pattern 1, or etc., pattern 4, 5, 6, whatever pattern I'm in, that's where all these samples are going to be loaded into. So they're going to be inside of that project, and then once I go all the way out, I could load. If I go, oh no, yeah, once I'm inside of there, and I go to my source, then it'll be inside of my source folder. So once I load to a project, it'll be loaded into this folder inside of that pattern. Well, inside of, you know, this pattern, whatever pattern you have selected. So I might have confused you. If I did, just go back, press rewind, and it'll make sense. So yeah, so that's cool. So yeah, so far so good with the Elektron Digitakt. It's a pretty awesome box. I really think it's an awesome sequencer box / sampler.